And for Donald Trump, the size of a crowd seems to matter far too much. Former Republican Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy is urging Trump to stop questioning and comparing the size of Kamala Harris's crowds at her rallies and instead focus on policy.
Trump misspelled Harris's first name as Kamala.
Late-night shows were quick to jump on Donald Trump's obsession with crowd size.
The fact that Kamala Harris is pulling such huge crowds is really getting under his, let's call it, skin. I don't know.
With Kamala Harris's successful campaign in the spotlight, Trump went on the usual Trump route, calling the crowds fake on Truth Social.
Also, you know there were witnesses there, right? You can't just claim an entire event was fake and get zero pushback from the people who saw it with their own eyes. For example, if someone said the audience at my show was fake, we could just cut to them to prove they're here.
While the former president claimed the photo was altered with artificial intelligence.
He wrote, "Has anyone noticed that Kamala cheated at the airport? There was nobody at the plane and she AI'd it and showed a massive crowd of so-called followers, but they didn't exist." He goes on to say she's a cheater, she had nobody waiting, and the crowd looked like 10,000 people.
Oh my God.
But Trump's fascination with crowd sizes goes back years and years.
I made a speech. I looked out. The field it looked like 1.5 million people.
That was Donald Trump in January 2017, boasting about what he believed was the size of his crowd on Inauguration Day. He falsely claimed that his crowd was the largest ever, his press secretary at the time sharing the same untruth.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
Aerial photos taken during Trump's inauguration and Barack Obama's show Obama's first inauguration attracted a larger crowd.
I've had the biggest crowds. They never say how big the crowds are.
The line was like 30 blocks long and went all the way back to a highway.
We have 7,000 people outside trying to get in.
More recently, Trump bragged about the size of his crowd at the January 6th rally preceding the attack on the Capitol.
The biggest crowd I've ever spoken. I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me.
Trump went on to claim his crowd on January 6th was larger than the crowd for Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech in August of 1963.
If you look at Martin Luther King when he did his speech, and you look at it, and you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people.
No, he did not. Trump drew about 53,000 people on January 6th, while around 250,000 showed up for Martin Luther King Jr. Now, at that same press conference, Trump also bristled when asked about Vice President Kamala Harris's crowd sizes.
Oh, give me a break. Listen. I had 107,000 people in New Jersey. You didn't report it. I'm so glad you asked. What did she have yesterday? 2,000 people? If I ever had 2,000 people, you'd say my campaign is finished.
Harris's team says 14,000 people were at her rally in Philadelphia and 15,000 in Detroit.